Are you having a hard time this beginning of the year? Is the cold winter making you feel miserable? Well, I'll show you how I made these very happy and colorful cards using watercolors. Crafting always helps me through difficult times. It always gets my mindset in a better place. So why don't you join me and craft a little? On top of improving mental health, arts and crafts are known for improving motor skills and creativity. On this video, I'm going to show you how I created 4 different backgrounds using watercolors. I am using a new to me product, so I will be sharing all the details with you. I was sent this product to use and give my honest take, what I think, how I feel about it, and that's what I'm gonna do. I wasn't asked to evaluate it in any certain way or to say specific things about it. So what you're going to hear is my honest take on the product. It came very well packaged, and my one came in this case that I absolutely love. It has a clipboard at the front. It has a space inside where you can store your projects. It came with this watercolor pack, paper pack, and this is the watercolor set. I'm going to show you here in a minute all the colors, but it is a 48 set with different colors. 36 of them are very bright, vivid, beautiful, rich watercolors. And this, again, this is my own opinion. I will swatch them with you in a minute. This pamphlet comes with the spaces and the codes for each one of the watercolors, so you can swatch them here. But I did my own swatch cards, and I'll show you later. This one comes with samples of all the colors available and some more information. And here we have all of the colors. So the first top 3 rows are the regular colors, and the bottom row are the specialty ones. They have glitter or metallic or are color shifting, and you can remove that base, which I'm going to do later when I actually open them up and swatch them. You can see here that everything fits very nicely inside of the case. I really like the case. I am not going to use it during my watercoloring just because of the glare. I don't like the glare during the footage, so you can see better. Here you can see that you also have the code and the name for each one of the colors. I am going to remove that insert, and I'm gonna struggle a little bit to remove the pans one by one so I can remove the paper and start swatching them. Off screen, I prepared my swatch cards. I'll show you here in a second. So all I'm gonna do is remove that paper and put them back where they were. And the way I am going to do it is I'm always going to leave a free space. That makes it easier to remove the next one or the previous one. Here are the cards that I prepared, and here I only have the name of the colors, but later I added the codes, the number codes that come with them. That makes it easier in case I run out of one of them to know exactly which one it was. And I like the way that they came ordered. That's the way that I would order myself my watercolor set. So I didn't change them. I kept them exactly how they were because to me it works better if they are in rainbow color. But as you can remove, you can also rearrange them however you want. You can group colors by families or by intensity, however you prefer. I like that feature because you can basically put the colors however works best for you. When I started crafting, I used to actually just buy the colors I use the most. I showed you just a close-up of one of the metallic colors. There's the bottom row. And here it's mainly where I'm going to use. I have a flat brush, I have a round brush, number 6, and I have this dropper. I'm going to start dripping only 2 drops of water on each one of the colors. I'm going to do 1 row at a time because it's very hot and it dries very quickly here where I am in Brazil. I hope you don't have that problem where you are. I just wanted to give all the colors kind of the same intensity. And I made a mistake because I put my brush very dry on the first color, but it doesn't matter that much because it's a white watercolor. It's not something that most people use, so I don't really worry or care about that one. But then I brought some water and I'm cleaning up my brush in between and drying the excess water, and then just using those 2 drops to swatch my each one of them. You will see that as I start, I am really moving the color around the water, and it's getting very creamy, and it's kind of loading my brush in excess, I guess. So later I am going to do only the tip of the brush, and that will actually bring the colors to a different value, because if I lift too much of that color, there won't be a variation as I go down. The way I created my swatch cards was I wanted to have a little bit of space to move the color around, so I needed them to be longer. I measured the inner space of the case, the watercolor case, and I made actually 3 panels that were slightly smaller than those measurements. I divided them by 12, and then I split them in half. So I will have on each card space for 4 columns. I hope that makes sense. The third one is this one. It's the black one. I actually don't own black watercolor paper, so I'm using Hero Arts Peach Black. And it's not ideal because the colors move differently on watercolor paper, but it will give me at least a notion of the colors, and that's all I really need right now. The peach black, it is like the blackest cardstock I own, so it will give me a little bit of contrast. I wanted to have the metallic colors swatched in both white and black because you can really see the difference, and like I'm showing here on screen. Now I have to warn you, I am not an artist, and the way I use my watercolors, it's always in a creative way. It's always quick, easy, and simple ideas, like I did on my Christmas cards. If you've been here for a while, you will probably know that. And the 3 ideas I'm going to share with you today, they are like some of my favorite. And the reason I'm choosing to use these for fighting the January blues, it's because you can actually use loads of those colors, loads of those bright colors, and you will end up with cards that look very happy and very bright. And I don't know you, but I think research shows that rainbow colors actually make people happier. So that works for me. I hope it works for you. I hope it's a good idea. Here are all the colors. Here are all the swatches. I did speed through all of this because it's a lot of the same thing, just zigzagging each color along one of those columns. There's not much of a secret. And these 3 cards, I will store them all together inside of the watercolor case. That makes the best use of the space that I have there, I believe. My impression is that the colors are extremely bright, very pigmented, and they are very creamy watercolors. Since I'm not an artist, I can't give you more details. I will show you here a comparison of how they move on wet and dry medium in a second. But I really love the intensity of the colors, and I like the range as well. I think it could have more of a pink color because that seems to be a popular one with people. I really don't use pink that much. It will not make a difference for me, but I know there are a lot of people love pink. You do get a magenta, and you get 3 kind of different shades of pink in the metallic, but that's the only color I thought that was missing a little. Here you can see a comparison. I have one of the metallic colors, and I chose one of the regular watercolors. It's a very close color. I just wanted to show you how they move on a dry paper, and here it's wet on wet. The colors move beautifully. There is a tiny bit of granulation, and it doesn't bother me at all. It was only as well on the regular watercolor, the regular shade of blue that I chose. I didn't see the same granulation on the metallic one, but it could be because it wasn't that wet. As I said, it was extremely hot this day, and you will see the sun coming down and like covering more and more of my desk area. So it was drying very quickly. That could be why, but I didn't really see granulation on the metallic ones. I do find that the regular ones are way more intense. So usually you put it down and you don't need to layer up that much. watercolors are kind of transparent, kind of translucent, so usually you have to build them up. I find that you can actually get a pretty intense color on the first go with the regular ones. This is the final result after they dry. Now for my first idea, we're going to make some galaxy backgrounds. I'm going to make one dry on dry and one wet on wet. So for this one, I started just putting some blobs of color everywhere. I try to keep them away from each other in the sense that I didn't want them to merge and become brown. So you can see that I put like blues and pinks, and then I brought a purple in between them. I just merge them around the yellow. So when they overlap, it will generate secondary colors, and that would work for me. For this one, I am actually using those colors wet on wet, and then they blend better, they blend together, and they do all the work for me. They move way better. I like this one way better, folks. I don't know if you're gonna like the one that I did dry on dry. I really didn't love it, but I'm gonna use it anyways at the end. You know me, I make it work. With this one, I really loved how it looks at the end. It looks way softer, and also you can see the colors better. As I said before, because the colors are so intense, I felt at the end of the first one, this one that I used wet on dry, sorry, I felt that I didn't really need to layer one more layer of colors. You know, they were very bright already, so I just came with the black on top, tried to cover it up a little bit. You see me that I did use that flat brush once it was all dry on both panels and I added my first color. I come with the flat brush, I added a layer of water, and then I used the black or dark blue, and I start adding on top. For the wet on wet, I did add a second layer of color, and then you can see that I'm going to add more black as I go. But this is very easy to recreate. It's very quick to make as well, and you usually end up with a great result no matter what. That's why I'm keeping I used wet on dry. You will see that it looks like a galaxy no matter what. It's just that you can see the colors way better on the wet on wet. Now, if you're recreating this, remember that you can use as many or as few colors as you want. You can only use the colors you like. All you need to do at the end is use an intense layer of that black around the corners, around the borders, and then dilute it and move it around the center. Of course, for people who actually are artists and know how to use watercolors better, there's probably better directions for you. If you're one of those people, I am so sorry. You can probably do this way better than I do. But I just wanted to show that it doesn't matter who you are, if you are a beginner, if you've never used watercolors before, these are very, very easy to use and to recreate. And in the end, no matter how bad it looks, it will look like a galaxy. Here you can see when it's dry that you will have that dark on the outside and kind of the sheer kind of translucent, and you can see the colors through on the center part. Now the last step that ties it all together and makes it look definitely like a galaxy is adding splatters. I am using kind of the lightest color of my metallic colors that I have here, and then later I'm also going to use some white acrylic paint and add some splatters to both panels. Remember that they have to be fully dried before you do that. You can also use white gesso instead of the acrylic if you have that in your stash. Before the splatters, all it looks like is a huge blob of ugliness. But then after the splatters, it's definitely a galaxy. It's just amazing how much a tiny detail makes such a huge difference, you know? You can add as much or as little as you want, as always. My camera is not actually great in this section, so you probably can't really see the detail. It will get fixed later. I am showing you how I'm making the panels, but I'm not going to show you in detail how I made the cards, but I'm just going to cut them down and use them for my cards. For my second idea, I'm taking inspiration from Star of May. Her name is Christina, and I'll try to link her videos on the subject. But the idea is to make your panel look as if you dipped the whole panel into different shades of ink. The way you achieve that is by starting with a very light wash on top and then adding more and more pigment as you go on each layer. So I will actually be tracing some strips along the border, the top border, and I'm going to start adding more and more pigment. That's how I've learned how to do it. That's how Christina does it. But I really wanted to have all the colors of the rainbow. So I'm going to end up with strips of every single color. I am starting with yellow because I think I already knew that I was going to struggle to transition from red to purple. So I started with my favorite color and the one that I could get the lightest wash. Christina actually blends the whole panel, and I think that helps with the dip look, but I'm actually doing only one strip. So I'm using a flat brush. I'm using it in the wider orientation, and then I'm drying between layers, and then each time I'm adding more pigment and transitioning from yellow into orange, from orange into red, and then I'm gonna struggle when I try to transition from red into pink. That didn't go that well, but I will fix it later using one of metallic colors, and that's gonna show. But I will notice around this point that actually the bottom of that strip is giving me a lighter wash, and I'm gonna start changing the orientation of my brush. I'm gonna use it kind of sideways, and I'm just gonna trace the strips that I want from the following colors, at least for a while. Eventually, I'm just gonna turn my whole panel upside down and start inserting the greens and then transitioning the greens into teal and then into blues. You can see me doing here. I did speed it up quite a bit. You can slow it down if you want to see it in detail, where I am literally just tracing strips at this point. When I get those colors very light enough, I will turn the brush again on the regular orientation, the wider orientation, but then I will bring it back sideways when I need the narrow strips. Just out of curiosity, I had a Catholic upbringing, and rainbows mean a lot to Catholic people all around the world because that's the symbol of the new alliance. That's what God showed after the deluge. And it's a symbol of hope everywhere, all around the world, to many. I know it's not only Catholics, I think it's to a lot of Christian people. Because of that, every time I'm feeling a bit blue, a bit down, that's the color combination I gravitate towards. And I'll share another curious rainbow fact with you. I recently found out that there are rainbows in Venus, in the planet Venus, and they are called glories. Isn't that adorable? So there you go, a few rainbow facts from me to you. I hope they will bring you a smile, they will bring you joy. Look at those bright colors. You can also see the strip of the metallic pink that I added. Now I corrected the camera, you can see it better. It was way too bright. I will cut this panel in half and use it onto two 5x7 cards. You see them later. So this is my last idea, my third and last. This is something I used to do when I was a child. You're going to need a pen, a permanent pen or waterproof or pigment ink. I am showing a few here to you, a few options, but use whatever you have in your stash. Maybe a regular pen will work to just make sure that it's very, very dry before you put the watercolors down. And test it on a piece of paper to make sure they're not water activated. All I do is I start from a corner, and without lifting, without interrupting, I will trace squiggly line, a continuous squiggly line all across my panel. The more you do it, the smaller sections you're going to have at the end. I try to always finish where I start as well. All you have now, it's a blob of scribbles, but each section of those scribbles where the lines overlap, I'm going to color with a different color. And then I'm going to try to group them kind of color blocking. So around the yellows and oranges, I'm going to try to put like blues and purples. So I have the most contrast near the blobs of colors, the sections that I have here on the paper. And then you can change the intensity, the value of those colors to make them look different. Sorry that my head gets in the way, but I think you can still see it. I did speed it up. I'm not going to show the whole thing. There is no right or wrong. You can showcase all of your colors. I am also using the metallic ones in the smaller sections in between. There is no rhyme or reason. There really isn't. It's something that you do without thinking. It's something that you just do and you relax. I find it extremely relaxing. You can combine the colors as well and build up on them and have more colors in between, more tertiary colors if you want. Just let your creativity flow, really. Just let it flow through you. It's not something that you really control a lot of. I did try to start in sections that are far away from each other so the colors wouldn't blend. I did try to stay in between the lines, but my eyesight seems to be terrible these days. I have to go check my eyes. So in the end, you will see that I made a few mistakes, but it doesn't matter because it works no matter what. Now, I did use a pen that is very, very thin. I would advise you to use something thicker, maybe a Sharpie if you have it. I didn't have any with me here on my stash, so you know me, I always make whatever I have work for me. But I do recommend a Sharpie. Your Sharpie would have been way better. If you don't want your colors to merge, to blend, to have an overlap, just make sure that you dry them in between with either a heat gun or a hair dryer, or that you just give it some time. Otherwise, you should be fine. I find the final result very striking. It's very unique, it's very different, and you will probably never be able to make two of these backgrounds that look exactly the same. So they will always be unique, and you can just use them as a background, add a sentiment. That's it. You're done. It doesn't need anything else. I had a great time playing with these watercolors. So if you do need a watercolor set and if you want to know more information, I will link it all down below. Where the company is called Lightwish, and they are offering a 20% discount code if you want to buy from their website. I will link all of the information. I will add the details on the description if you want to check it out. But I wanted to focus the video on the techniques more than on making an ad, because I know that a lot of people feel a bit uncomfortable when they think that we creators are trying to sell stuff. That's not what I'm trying to do. I was just asked to evaluate it, and I am being 100% honest. This is the best watercolor set I've had, but I've never had a professional grade one. This is a student grade set, and I absolutely love the bright colors. If you do gravitate towards bright colors and you do need a watercolor set, please consider this one. But if you don't, that's okay too. So here's where I did at the end. This one, it's the first one is the one I didn't like the most of the background ones. So I added a huge sentiment to cover the imperfections. I added some stars to all three of them. I might add some smaller sub-sentiments underneath later, almost all of them. I will do that. And I just added some more detail, cut them down. They do look stunning just the way they are. My next video, I'm going to share a bunch of random tips and tricks with you. And I'm also going to show you a few things that I do behind the scenes. So stick around. Hope to see you again soon. Happy crafting, everyone. Have fun. Bye.